Kody, even before that, it felt like I wasn't as important. I can remember one time we were traveling, I think it was my birthday, and you started getting mad at me about a conversation that I had with her that I don't know how you knew about.
Don't go down that road. We're trying to heal things. More destruction is going to help us here.
Okay, then if I can't talk freely, then let's just leave it as I don't really want to.
You ever have the feeling you kind of like to just sell it all, pick up and move? Do you ever get that sense, or just get away from this whole valley?
I picked up the phone to my son's passing here. I want out so bad.
Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. Well, we have been waiting a year for this. The proof and my suspicion, my gut, that told me that Kody's sudden decision to move into a home, to suddenly on a show pretend like he cared about Truly and wanting her at his house, certainly not trying to get ahead of a narrative that might be coming up or a lawsuit for child support and custody that was coming from Christine. Kody and Robyn are now rewriting history on this season, making it seem like they were moving into a new home because Kody wanted to get away from the place where he found out and received a call that his estranged son passed away. A lot of you found it really disgusting yesterday when we were talking about at length the excuses Kody was using to buy a new house, including the death of his son and needing to have a space for Truly. And what we learned was that even though he bought a new house, the new house only had 5 bedrooms on the main house, and they still wouldn't have had their own bedroom for Truly, not given the number of adults that lived in their house. At the time they moved, they still had Brianna, Aurora, Ariella, Saul, and Kody and Robyn. That's 5 bedrooms completely at use in a 5-bedroom home. They also put Dayton out in the garage. At least that's what we suspect. We know from records in Coconino County that suddenly in September of 2024, Kody and Robyn decided that they were going to sign over and place the properties in Janelle and Mary's names, right? And after years of doing nothing and saying that he was, making insinuations that he would screw them over, that he wanted to screw them over, reminding them that he owned more than they did, that he deserved more than they did, calling Janelle a victim because she wanted her rightful share of the money she put into the Coyote Pass. Suddenly, at the time Christine sues him, he suddenly hands over 50% of his equity in a Coyote Pass. That means 50% of his equity gone, meaning 50% less asset, $300 and some thousand total gone. At the same time that he did that, he opened a trust called Whitestone Trust. And after years of never hiding assets and always holding the titles of homes in his name and his name alone with a wife, suddenly Robyn and Kody buy a house that's much larger, much greater in price, and they take out a $1.6 million loan on that house, increasing their debt, trying to reduce how much net worth they have, because by increasing their debt, they reduce their net worth, and it reduces and increases their liabilities which are used in determining child support. All of this was done while under a protective order by the court saying that Kody could not sell or switch assets or dispose of assets. At the same time all this was going on, Kody also decided, I'm going to file a countersuit against Christine, and I'm going to go for custody of Truly. So on the one hand, Kody was taking steps to divert assets and hide assets, and on the other hand, he was setting up a legal trap so that she would have to fight him. And then just before they were supposed to get into discovery, he abruptly settled his case, thus closing off discovery and any access to Christine getting subpoenas to look into the records. So what was he doing? What were the red flags? 1, asset diversion, paper gifting to Janelle and Mary. It reduces his reported equity and the appearance of wealth before a support and judgment calculation. Number 2, ownership shielding through a revocable or nominee trust. He did an irrevocable trust because he took out a loan, using a trust to make it appear that the property is no longer personally owned. If he is the settlor or beneficiary, the court can pierce the veil of that trust. It will continue to complicate calculations for child support because searches of his property will not show that this property is in his name. It looks like he's sheltering assets. Then he takes out a $1.6 million loan. This is called equity stripping. He pulls cash out of real property that he sells. He converts that cash, and then he takes out a higher debt to apparently lower the net worth for child support formulas. Liquidation pre-settlement converts hard assets that are easy to trace into cash, and then that cash can then be moved quickly. This ensures control of the proceeds before court orders distribution of income withholding. If he wires the proceeds of that into a trust, then in order for Christine to gain access to what money that's in this trust, she would again have to get a subpoena. And then Kody attempted to hide the sale of the home that he owned, the McMansion, by delisting the property, having his realtor actually sell it privately, where realtors can sell to other high-end people. So it's not a public listing, but it's on the MLS, but it's not public. And then he finds a buyer. And once the buyer is under contract, they hide it, and the sale goes through, and it's recorded after the fact in violation of a protective order. He sold a home, he purchased a home, he increased his debt, and then that money that he got from the proceeds of that sale, whether it went into the current house or whether he put that money into a trust somewhere else so that it was hidden or concealed, he could have easily transferred the money elsewhere to, again, reduce the amount of money that he has on hand, cash available. If you think this is crazy, I will promise you that this is what polygamous men do every single day. They are extremely well versed in how to launder and hide and conceal income so they don't have to pay child support. So by the time they agree to sell the property, again at Coyote Pass, Kody does not list the property publicly. And again, when the sale goes through, there was never a listing posted on the MLS. We only find out about the sale of the property when the documents are filed in Coconino County. A single buyer bought all parcels. They paid cash. Kody and Robyn walked away with 50% of the proceeds after they paid taxes and insurance and realtor fees. That net money, again, we have no idea where the money went. He could have invested it into other property. He could have put it into a trust that is revocable. He could have purchased a bunch of things so that money was spent that he could use on himself and not on Truly, and then Christine couldn't have access to it. And all the while that he was doing this, he was telling the court that he wanted custody of Truly, making it more complicated for Christine. And Christine and her attorneys never were able to properly get into discovery because he was delaying parts of this by he didn't get served right away. He responded with a countersuit. Then she had to file an answer. And then he delayed doing any of the parenting classes. So a requirement in the state of Utah is before they can go to trial and they can have a pretrial hearing, they have to go through mediation. They have to have all of these different parts. And he had to do classes on parenting and divorce. He delayed and he missed the date for those classes. Christine did hers as soon as they were due. He waited months. And then abruptly, he and Christine meet with the magistrate judge, the commissioner, and Christine tells the court that this might be a high conflict case. She may need someone to go into Kody's house to look at his home to make sure that he has a suitable home for a child, that they may have to review his parenting between he and Robyn. She also says that there might need to be a guardian ad litem appointed for the best interests of Truly. And the commissioner classified this in a category that suggested that there could have been allegations of abuse. Christine's book comes out in September of 2025, and we learned that when Truly was at the home of Robyn and Kody's, they didn't have a bedroom for her. In one incident, they had her sleeping out in a room that had an exterior access. So it was a bedroom that was not attached to the rest of the home. It was sort of like its own suite. It wasn't a mother's in law suite. There was no kitchen. There was no bathroom. It was simply a bedroom. And the only access into the bedroom was an outside door with no interior access. The next time she has them sleep over, Truly sleeps in her brother's bedroom, Solomon, where there's only a bed on a frame on the floor and no curtains on the windows. Kody and Robyn, despite having a 5-bedroom home, did not make a space for Truly. And after 2 times and 2 issues with sleeping at the home and Truly not feeling comfortable, and Kody and Robyn basically ignoring her while she was there, Truly made the decision to never go there again alone. And then the next time Truly goes to visit, she's there with her sisters, and she is never seen at her dad's house alone again. She has never been back to Flagstaff by herself. My suspicion when all of this kicked off was that something had occurred, that there was allegations of neglect and or abuse, and that when this was brought up in court, suddenly Kody agrees to a settlement. But by the time he had agreed to the settlement, it was May of 2025. Coyote Pass had sold. He had a new home. His previous home had sold. He had taken out more debt. He had decreased his net assets by getting rid of Coyote Pass. He increased his debt to income by taking out a $1.6 million loan that still remains active today. And at the time, the estimated monthly payment would have been over $11,000 a month. We also know around the same time period, Kody buys a Mercedes-Benz estimated to cost over $100,000. And he also commissions a over $25,000 piece of art for his wife, Robyn. He and Robyn are also seen wearing matching jewelry. She is gifted a large diamond ring. Kody begins wearing Rolex watches. Robyn begins wearing Rolex watches, Tiffany and Cartier jewelry, and Kody starts buying trailers, trucks, and what he called assets and art. Soon his home was filled in every single inch of the wall with art that was purchased from artists, where the paintings were limited prints that he was paying tens of thousands of dollars for. And so as Kody was liquidating assets, he was purchasing art, and he was filling his house with art, and he was buying luxury cars. He may have settled and agreed to settle to make it go away, but something else that Kody did was, after settling, suddenly he moved to seal the entire case, which is not typical in the state of Utah. While it's not typical to be able to read the specific documents that go into child support estimates, or even to be able to see the complaints, nearly all orders that are issued in family court are public record. Kody cut off the transparency of the court to the public in order to protect himself. I am sure they are going to say they're doing this to protect Truly, but Kody was given a special treatment in court because he was a public figure. I was in a hearing listening to numerous cases being called. It was a public web hearing the public could attend. And suddenly, when Kody and Christine's case was called, everyone was kicked out of the court. Again, Kody received special treatment. We will never have transparency about what happened with that case. And unless he stops paying child support and there is a lawsuit filed against him in the state, we won't know, or if there's a lien placed on one of his properties, which has never happened, we don't know how much money he and Robyn ended up stealing and defrauding from Christine and from Truly. Truly is 15 years old. She turned 15 in April. In the state of Utah, 14-year-olds are given the opportunity to decide where they want to live. The judge will take it into account. And when it became clear that Truly didn't want to live with her dad, I also think Kody gave up, not before he and Robyn developed this plot to rip off Christine. Now, Janelle and Mary were entitled to the assets of Coyote Pass, but he didn't do it for the purpose of making sure they got out with anything. It wasn't about being fair. It wasn't about being equitable. It was about Kody limiting and reducing his equity, limiting and reducing his assets, doing a sale of the property to liquidate assets, and then take the money and hide it. Just imagine what they could have figured out had they gone to trial. And with how much hiding this man does, it makes me wonder what he's doing behind closed doors. Now, all of the information I've shared with you comes from public records, property records, and court records that I once held regarding Kody. So I can't say for certain this is what he did, but it sure looks like what he was doing was defrauding Christine. This is my best estimation based on the information that I have that's available in the public domain. And now that he's on camera proving that he's doing all of this at the exact same time as the child support case kicks off, it would seem like it's a foregone conclusion to connect the dots that this was all being done in an effort to conceal assets. But that's my opinion. So Kody and Robyn's scheme to defraud Christine has been exposed. They've exposed it by accident. And just pay attention to the small clues throughout this season to find out if you can see what they're doing in their plot to defraud Christine and Truly of child support. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and please click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.